I've been analysing the groups and the individuals' conceptions of leadership. So I've been asking myself, how do you guys put your idea of leadership together? And there's a lot of different people I could have turned to for an approach to take on this. I've opted for these two characters here. This is Jim Kouzes and Barry Posner. And in the 1980s, they started work on this by creating an inventory of leadership practices based around what we think of as 5 dimensions. So it's like this. If you found something that everybody says, oh, there was real leadership there. If you probe people, if you ask questions about those things, say, what do you mean leadership? If you dig into that enough, inevitably you wind up talking about 5 common themes. And those 5 common themes are these: model the way, inspire shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the heart. Now, you don't have to buy into the language wholeheartedly. What I like about this is the pragmatic value of there being 5 things. Human beings are good at handling chunks of stuff in a range of between 5 and 9 items. 5 items is the lowest level of that. Any less, and we'd think it was unduly simplistic. Any more than 9, and we wouldn't be able to cope. So there's the 5 things that we are thinking of leadership in terms of. And when they asked their questions, they used an inventory. I think they have a 30-item inventory. We had less than that. We had 3 lots of 15 items that we asked you to rate. And we forced you to rate them, so you couldn't rate everything equally highly, forced you to differentially rate them. And that was a deliberate strategy in order to test the consistency of your thinking around this stuff, because if there's a lot of inconsistency, maybe the model just doesn't work in your case. It actually turns out that everybody has a very high level of consistency, and that's not surprising. So what we did was we asked you to rate the statements for leadership, and we also asked your line manager. So if we look over here, on the first column, you are in the first column there. Those are your scores for leadership against each statement. And your line manager is in the second column there. And what we've got is we've added up, yeah? So we've totaled the scores. So there's your line manager and you on modelling. And for this person, there's no real significant difference. 1 point difference is not huge. The biggest difference you could have had would have been if one of the two had said 1 all the way down, and so given a total score of 3 for modelling, and the other had said 5 all the way down and given a total score of 15. So there would have been a difference of 12 places. So you can see that 1 place difference isn't a big difference. If there was a 12-place difference, it would be extraordinary, because we'd have 2 people with very, very fixed ideas about the value of modelling, and they would be very fixed and in completely the opposite directions. It never happens, really. So we've got several instances where this person and their line manager seem to be in reasonably close proximity to one another. So I'm just going to redo that one. That's a bit messy, wasn't it? There we are. You can see that when it comes to enabling, inspiring and modelling, there's not a huge difference. But if we look at here, challenge, the individual involved sees challenge as more important than their line manager does. And then if we look again at encourage, we can see there's another difference there. It's the other way around. So it's almost like these 2 people are pulling in the opposite direction when it comes to challenge and encourage in terms of leadership. They agree around the other things, but they disagree around the values of challenge and encourage. And that's not to say that one is right and the other is wrong. It's just a difference in approach and conception. If you're aware of it, you can actually turn it into a strength as a team. If you're not aware of it, it's likely to cause a problem. And it could happen like this. Let's say that the line manager, who regards encouraging as very, very leadership value, high value leadership activity, has an issue with a group of people and says to this person who we're looking at their scores, says to them, I need you to get into that team and I need you to provide some leadership around whatever it is. So they go in there and they issue a bunch of challenges. The line manager was expecting the person to go in and be encouraging, and they go in with a lot of challenge. And that's going to cause problems, isn't it? There's going to be difficulties. There's going to be enough of it. There's going to be conflict between this individual who the line manager has to solve a problem and the line manager who's now got, in their eyes, a bigger problem to solve. So you can see that not knowing about the differences in terms of your thinking around leadership could be a source of anxiety and conflict, and that's to be avoided. So making ourselves conscious of that is what this exercise is about. Now, if you don't like it in terms of numbers, and quite frankly, why should you particularly like numbers, I did also do the whole exercise using a graph. So the bar chart for the same data for that individual looks like this. And this is quite nice. It helps us to see what's going on. So if you look here, you can not only can you see the differences, but you can also see the absolute parities as well. This person, these two people are very, very closely pegged around these first two sets of values. And there's not a big difference here in terms of enable. They share more than they differ, and that's important. But where they differ, they need to know and they need to address that difference. They need to be conscious of it when they're planning deployment. Because there's no point in planning a deployment on the understanding that you're going to go and do one thing when I actually want you to do another. So that's what the graph is supposed to be showing us.